What's going on everyone, it's Mr. West. I hope you're all well. This is a quick bonus video to answer a question I get asked a lot, and that is, Dave, what phone do you use? Well, in this video, I'm just gonna go through what phone I use, why I use it, and why I'm still using it so long after it was released. To answer the golden question, the phone that I use is the OnePlus 3T. Yes, a 2016 handset, still being used in 2018. Now, there's no golden rule for tech reviewers about what phone they should be using. However, some people ask, oh, why don't you use a Samsung or why don't you use an iPhone? The answer is simple. This is so reliable and it has all the features you will ever need in any phone that there's no reason to change it. It's just simply not. And I'm not being a skinflint or being tight. I just think that this offers all of the features you could ever need in a phone and more, which makes it a really good daily companion. So first of all, it's the design. And even though this is starting to look very, very dated in 2018 standards, it's still a really solid and dependable device. It's been crafted out of this one single block of aluminium, and then the display has just been mounted inside of that. But what it is just there's no creaks or groans when you're using it. It's really, really solid. It doesn't bend or flex too much. It's just the kind of right width and the right height to use. It remains a very, very comfortable device, if not a little bit slippery. So then we've got the display. So this uses a Samsung made but OnePlus tuned optic AMOLED display. It's only 1080p, but really on a display this size, do you really need super pixel dense displays which then eat through your battery life? Well, no, you don't. I've used the Galaxy S8 with its Full HD Plus display. You can whack that up to 2K resolution, and to the naked eye, it's really, really difficult to be able to make out the extra pixels. You can see a slight difference, but from a distance then, you're not really getting huge benefit from it. It's all about the tuning of the display. And OnePlus offers some great options in here. So you've got a default option, which is quite saturated. You then got the sRGB option, which is the one that I use all of the time. And it really, really, really looks great. Some people say the colors look a bit muted, but that is how it should look. The sRGB profile does make the colors look very, very muted. But I think it looks great across the whole of the UI, which I'll talk about in a moment. Just watching movies, or if you're just browsing web pages, looking at photos, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, it all looks really, really great. And one great thing about the display as well is it uses OnePlus's Ambient Display. So when you lift the phone up, it'll actually just show you some at a glance information on the screen. It'll even show you the track that's playing on your chosen music app. It'll show you your message. If it's just come in, you lift up the phone and it'll just show you the message at a glance on the screen. And the great thing is you can double tap to wake the display as well, which is part of the software, which I'll talk about in a moment. Apart from that, the ambient lift to wake display is a really, really cool feature. So then we move on to things like ports and buttons. Now, they're nothing to get excited about. However, OnePlus have got the essentials covered really, really well with this. And again, all of the ports have been really nicely milled out of the aluminium, and everything's all nicely lined up as well, which is really, really cool. So obviously we've got a headphone jack. So the audio quality from the headphone jack is actually one of the best I've heard on any phone in this price range. It uses a Dirac HD digital to analog converter. It's got plenty of volume and power even for my Sennheiser headphones, which are notoriously difficult to drive due to their high impedance. Google it. Next, we've got the USB-C port. So the USB-C port is obviously the gateway for the amazing dash charge capabilities. Just being able to plug your phone in and get 50% power in around 20 to 30 minutes is absolutely brilliant, and it's so invaluable. So before we move on to software, we're just going to talk a little bit about the hardware which runs the phone, namely the Snapdragon 821 processor and the very generous 6 GB of RAM. So the phone runs absolutely perfectly for me every single time I use it. The only instance you will get some slowdown is when the phone is in its last 10% of battery. You will find that the processor does throttle the phone quite heavily. It's mostly noticeable when you're playing games. The games do tend to become very jerky, the frame rate will drop. I suppose that's just to eke the last bit of life out of that battery. But for the most part, that processor, even though it came in for some criticism in other handsets, particularly the Google Pixel, for this phone it runs absolutely perfectly. They seem to have married it really well with the RAM, and things like multitasking and playing games, everything just seems so smooth, which we'll see when we talk about the software a bit later on. And I cannot talk about the mechanics of the phone without mentioning the amazing fingerprint sensor. It's this ceramic coated fingerprint sensor. It's a capacitive key, not a hardware key. So you just literally have to just touch it and the phone will recognize your fingerprint and it will just come on straight away. So let's move on to software. This is one of my favorite part of this phone. It's the reason I haven't changed it in all this time. So if you're not familiar with OnePlus devices, they run Oxygen OS on top of pretty much stock Android. Now, there's a big debate about stock Android. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are sort of in the middle. I absolutely love it. The simplicity of stock Android is what wins it out for me. I'm not saying that other devices are poor, certainly not. It's just so easy to use. It's so smooth all of the time. It's reliable. Everything is fast and fluid on the phone, and I really, really do love it. You've got some great options like customization. These again are small things, but it allows you to just tailor the phone to how you like it. So you can change the color of the theme. So you can have the blue, which I've got on mine, or you can change it to pink, green, or yellow, whichever you like. You've then got the dark or light theme. So instead of having the screen blaring at you, you've got the darker theme instead, which kind of keeps everything black. And because it's got that really cool Super AMOLED display, everything looks really inky black as well, which is excellent. You've then got the options to scale the display size. So this isn't new, this is on most Android devices, but again, it's a really cool feature, and you'll probably see mine is scaled right back to the smallest because it really makes best use of that pixel density in the AMOLED display. You then got gestures. Now these are one of the coolest features of the OnePlus devices. It's not exclusive to the OnePlus 3T. Anything from a OnePlus 2 onwards uses the gesture controls. So this allows you to program the hotkeys. So these are the capacitive keys which are to the left and right of the fingerprint sensor. And it basically allows you to customize those to do quick things that you would do in everyday use. So for example, a quick double tap on the right-hand key will allow you to pop down the notification tray, or a double tap on the back button, which is to the left of the fingerprint sensor, will just switch the screen off. You've then got press and hold for Google Assistant on your fingerprint reader, for example. And then you've got other features as well. When the phone is off, you can double tap to wake, or you can draw a 0 on the screen and that will open the camera, draw a V on the screen when it's locked, and that will open the flash at the back of the phone. I found that particularly handy, especially when going out to our shed in the middle of the night to do the recycling when it's completely dark outside. It's much easier to use your phone than it is to grab a torch. So just quick V shape on the screen and it switches the torch on, and it allows plenty of light in a certain area just to get things done. So then we move on to the camera. Now, again, this is not the most earth-shatteringly good camera you're going to find on a smartphone. It's a 16 megapixel Sony IMX sensor. It's got autofocus and optical image stabilization, as opposed to the electric image stabilization that you get with the OnePlus 5 and OnePlus 5T. Now again, it's not the best camera out there, however, it's perfectly serviceable for everything that I need. And in the right conditions and using the right settings, the OnePlus 3T is capable of some really excellent photos, as you'll see on the screen now, whether it's in daylight or low light. Now, extreme low light, where there's no lighting, is going to be absolutely terrible. But in the right lighting conditions, in low light, you can get some really, really excellent results. And video is also good as well. Again, this tops out of 4K at 30 frames per second. Although the image stabilization is a little bit flaky now and again, the actual overall result is really, really good. The only thing which spoils it for me with video is the constant breathing of the focus module, where it can't seem to want to focus on or decide what it wants to focus on in the image. You get a better result with the Samsung Galaxy and also an iPhone as well. I find it's much better at detecting focus across the whole range, whereas the OnePlus 3T tends to want to focus on certain things. You get that kind of breathing, popping effect of the focus a lot of the time. So it does take some careful use and some careful framing of your image if you want to get the best out of the camera and the video camera on the OnePlus 3T. On the whole though, as I said, it's a perfectly serviceable camera and will do absolutely fine for anyone who's looking to pick one of these up as a bargain used by. It's a great camera for what it is, given the shortcomings in the sensor itself, but overall, really, really pleased with what I've been able to achieve with this camera so far. So that is it. That is why I still use the OnePlus 3T in 2018. Somebody called me a tight ass and somebody think, oh, come on, get with the times, Dave. But seriously, this is such a good phone. I'm really, really loath to replace it. So until this actually breaks down and stops working altogether, this is the phone that I will continue using. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and my explanation of why I use this excellent but aging OnePlus phone as my daily driver. As always, any comments or questions, please leave them down below and I will do my very best to answer you and reply as soon as possible. If you enjoyed this, then please don't forget to like this video and also subscribe so you don't miss some great content coming soon. Next is the Xiaomi Mi A1 review. Yeah, okay, it's nearly 3 months old, but it's still an excellent phone and I've been using that as a secondary device just to put it through its paces and really see what it's all about. But for now, this has been my look at my daily phone, the OnePlus 3T. Thanks very much for watching and I will catch you guys later.